Dear students, welcome to EPG. I am Sumati, working as Assistant Professor in Department of Resource Management in the Avinash Lingam University, Faruman, Coimbatore. Today let us see the module Sequential Outlining of Design Process. Introduction. The initiation of any design process begins when the client approaches the interior designer for a need to design, create, renovate or refurbish a specific space. It is the foremost stage of the design process. Designer tries to understand the feasibility of the project by inquiring the details about the space to be designed from the client. A formal contract or agreement takes place between the designer and the client before the start of the design process, which includes feasibility study, research and programming of the project. Most of the interior designers prepare this legal document so that the interior designer is paid for the services and the valuable time he has bestowed in case the client leaves the project at any stage during the design process to avail services of another designer, or if the project did not fruit due to some other reasons. The agreement assures that the designer will provide the client with all design services and materials chosen by the designer or agreed upon mutually. To gain knowledge on design process, to acquire knowledge on needs and requirements of the client, to get better understanding on factors influencing the programming of design process. Now let us see the testimony or problem statement. It includes an underlying statement of goals to be achieved, the aim of the project work. The designer documents the type of the project. For example, is a project that needs to be designed a family home or a vacation house, a retail store, an office. The needs of the client in regards to the project, potential scope and limitations of the project. The designer checks for the credibility of the project by scrutinizing the issues and concerns of the project. Most of the designers delve into the following points of feasibility. First one is site analysis. It is done in order to look for the likely scope and future use of the space. It is also checked for any harms or hazards to the environment or the potential occupants. The budget of the project is to be checked to the scale and the type of the project. The points such as, does the place requires a makeover or needs to be designed from scratch, occupancy of space, the use of space need to be explored before engaging in the design process. The extra cost concerned with the planning is to be estimated, which the occupants is likely to run into. The considerations of the project with respect to the orientation to sun and wind, environmental factors, that is soil testing, water testing, seismic conditions, climatic factors, terrain, whether it is plain, hilly or mountainous, etc., sound level and traffic are analyzed. A summary of all the above mentioned points is prepared in the end, which forms the foundation of the project by allowing entering the next stage of the design process. Next we see the programming. Design of the project starts to take shape when the designer tries to understand the needs and requirements of the client. This stage involves the identification of goals, demands and essentials of the project to be accomplished. Therefore, the designer collects information from the client regarding the space by undergoing extensive research and carefully planning and contemplating about space requirements, issues and problems. Therefore, the designer studies the following factors in detail. The first one is human factor, that is space used by the occupants. The needs of the client would be occupants of the space are crucial for the designer, as they would ultimately be dwelling and using that space. The occupants' needs, lifestyle, habits, liking, preferences, gender, age group determined in order to start planning the space for them. For example, designer understands the profile of the users for which the space would be designed. That is the space to be designed a residential home or a play school? How many members are there in the family? Are there any elder members or disabled family members? Are there any kids in the family, as the space needs to be planned accordingly? Other factors such as gender, their preferences for color, style of home or furniture, cultural values, personality, etc. play an important role in planning and designing a space. First one, we will see the lifestyle. The designer understands the daily routine of the occupants, which helps in creating a space catering to the occupants' needs and not missing out on any details. The way of living of the occupants determines their jobs, duties activities and functions. For instance, for a family home, listener might ask the following questions. That is, do the occupants enjoy cooking? What are their hobbies? Do they like sewing or painting or dancing or singing? Are they religious or spiritual? Do they like outdoor activities like playing sports? Do they like to entertain and have guests over? How do they serve and eat? What daily routine do they follow? Do they have a nuclear extended family? What is the lifestyle of the children? What activities are they involved into apart from going to school or college? All these factors are considered by the designers before planning a space. It gives the designer a basic idea to work with the needs and lifestyle of each member of the family, whether to create a large kitchen with eating space or a large dining area for a family which likes to entertain, whether or not to create an outdoor play area for children or to create a separate multipurpose room for spending time with family, or designing hobbies room or separate puja room for family member, etc. The designer understands the user's eating, sleeping, dressing, entertaining, relaxing ways of living, on basis of which designer is able to design bedrooms, closets, furniture, layout of space, etc. While designing spaces, the designer keeps in mind the aspect of flexibility as the needs of the family member and the stage of the family, that is, whether the family is at beginning stage or expanding stage, always keep on changing. For example, a child's nursery can be converted into a bedroom for the child when she or he grows up, or a hobby room or a study room. The designer also tries to accommodate all the wish list of the occupants, but just in case if the space is less or the budget does not allow, designer looks for multipurpose action in a room. For instance, a room can consist of a day bed or sofa cum bed in an office or study, which can be easily converted into guest bedroom when they come over. The dining room can be used for entertaining when guests come over, and also used for children to do their homework while mom is busy preparing for cooking in the kitchen. Puja room can be doubled for study or an office with demarcated areas with the use of partitions if needed. The living room can be used as a space for family interaction, playing games, entertaining relatives and guests, watching television or reading books. The designer updates himself on all information from the clients pertaining to the rooms of the house to be designed. This allows for successful planning and designing of the spaces. Designer concentrates on the questions such as the following for designing a particular space. First, we will see children's room. The number of children sharing the room. What is the age group and gender of children? What is the daily routine? Do they have extra classes for dance or painting? What are their hobbies? How much storage space do they need? It depends upon the amount of book, toys, clothes, accessories, etc. they have. Preference for any sport. Do they require additional space in case they invite friends over the studying or staying? Preferences for color, style, texture, etc. Do they like playing outdoors or indoors? These should be considered. Next one is kitchen. Do family members enjoy cooking? How many occupants use a kitchen at a time? How much storage do they need? Do they like to entertain guests and cook for them? Do they prefer an open kitchen concept or a fan of closed kitchen? What process for cooking is followed? Do they like eating inside the kitchen area like a breakfast or dining nook? Or do they like eating inside the kitchen area like a breakfast or dining nook, or prefer separate elaborate dining room? Similarly, the space used and activities performed in each room are well described and determined in order to skillfully create this space. Space interconnectedness. After determining the use of space, the relation between the spaces is accounted for. Just a portion of rooms in relation to the space used is considered by the designer while chalking up the layout. This allows for easy flow from one activity to another and is convenient for the occupant while working. For instance, the pantry area consisting of large drums of grains, supplies and spices can be placed adjacent to the kitchen, which allows easy access for the cook without wasting the time taken to travel in other part of the house. Also, it would be relevant to plan bathrooms within the bedrooms. Similarly, dining rooms could be planned proximity with kitchen or living room so that it is easy to cook and then serve immediately. It ties the space together and provides a flow to the occupants from one activity to another. It enables easy function and prevents loss of time and energy by cutting and walking unnecessary steps. The needs of the occupants at the level of communication, privacy among the family members are the other factors which decide upon the relationship of areas of the house. For instance, if the kids are small, parents prefer to have master bedrooms in proximity to the nursery or kids' room so that kids feel safe. However, this is not the case when the children are all grown up as teenagers, need their privacy, so their rooms could be on separate floors altogether. Therefore, interrelation of space needs to be described to the designer before planning out the space for convenience and ease of use and communication by the occupants. Space request, that is, after understanding the function and interconnectedness of spaces and before delineating the floor layout, designer estimates the requirements of the space as to how much space would be required for furniture use, how many members would occupy a particular space, and how many guests or customers are there at the given time usually, and what type of activities are involved in that particular space. For instance, if the occupant is a painting teacher and gives tuitions at home, so the designer needs to plan and space well in advance. Also, points to consider are the space required for storage depending upon the size and type of the instruments or equipments, clothing, cleaning supplies, type of products to be sold at stores, office supplies, etc. for all spaces. Another thing planned by the designer is the circulation space, that is, space surrounding the furniture items and electronics. The space, furniture, furnishings is measured by the designer in order to create effective circulation space for occupants and provide sufficient space to move about and work. An occupant requires not just actual space to walk about, but also a perceived openness in the area which provides a sense of peace to the occupant's mind psychologically, be it by painting smaller rooms in light color or increase the ceiling height or have extra openings such as windows or skylights for daylight and wind using light furniture instead of bulky for smaller rooms, etc. In this way, the occupant does not feel claustrophobic or suffocated. It gives a feeling of openness and freshness. Next one is site analysis. One of the vital factors for consideration is the factor of environment. Environment plays a key role for the space design, as contemplating it in the earliest stage would be beneficial, as failing to do so could lead to design failure and may cost extra time and money at a later stage. The site should be planned and designed in accordance to the nature. It should be in coordination with the surrounding spaces and natural beauty. It should be kept in mind that the site construction would not pose any harm to the environment and use minimal and local resources. First one is climate. The site should be planned according to the orientation of sun and prevailing winds. The walls could need insulation from the cold climate in low sun areas, as it create warmth and a sense of coziness. Similarly, designer plans to shield the harsh rays of sun where sun exposure is high through window openings in appropriate direct to sun and wind to cool the insides. The designer could plan on using materials such as wood for cold climates and mechanical equipment such as HVAC, heating, ventilation and air conditioning apt for the weather conditions. For example, the designer creates an open concept restaurant in a fairly pleasant weather situation by bringing the outdoors inside by opening up large glass doors and creating extra seating outside so that all occupants can enjoy the space. Those sitting outside can enjoy the ambience of the restaurant, and those dining inside can feel the nice weather and beautiful views. The next one of the factor is site location. Beautiful views are like treasures which sell a given space if tastefully designed. Designer understands what nature has to offer in terms of daytime or nighttime views in relation to space to be designed. The designer designs the space accordingly by bringing in the colors of nature inside through the use of coordinating or complementing furnishings and wall treatments, using less light treatments if there is plenty of daylight available, use of rustic elements and a cottage feel if it is a mountainous place. Designer highlights and accents the inside space using clear window treatments to relish the views. Other things to consider are the soil type and gradation, that is, whether the space to be designed on the plains or hilly areas or near a beach, etc. In a city, however, the designer considers noise and traffic as key factors to be kept in mind while designing. A pleasant noise soothes the occupants, such as that of falling water of a mountain in a restaurant or a hotel lobby, or calming music in a spa. But if the noise is too loud, like that of traffic, providing discomfort to the occupants, the designer has to design the space in order to create a peaceful atmosphere for the occupants. The noise level can be subdued by the installation of insulated glass and extra insulation in walls, use of thick materials for furnishings such as curtains and carpeting. Any design which poses less harm to the environment and community is considered as sustainable design. Implementation of green design measures is beneficial to the users and the environment also. Green design might seem to be costly initially while installing, but proves to be cost beneficial over the years as it increases the lifespan of the design space, uses regional and better quality materials suiting the weather and climate of the space, and can be used in the best possible shape of generations to live. For instance, use of solar water heaters where sunlight is available in plenty, or adopting wind energy where wind speed is high. Green design is rewarding for the environment also, as it decreases the amount of air, water and noise pollution, and conserves resources and utilizes eco-friendly materials for furnishings and finishes, which prove to be a good long-lasting design. For instance, installation of bamboo flooring, LED lights, chemical-free finishes for wall treatments, that is, no VOC paints, recycled materials such as coir, recycled wood, broken glass, flyers, etc. for furniture and countertop, bamboo for kitchen. Therefore, the designer adopts energy efficient and recycled techniques and uses environmental friendly materials. But sustainable design needs planning ahead of time in order to save cost and time. For instance, designer planning for disabled friendly space, installation of ramp in place of stairs at the entryway of home, putting of side rails in the bathroom, provision of extra circulation space so that it becomes convenient for the disabled or an elderly person. The third important factor is design considerations. The requirements of systems such as mechanical, electrical, plumbing, etc. should be taken care of in the programming stage. Designer questions the client regarding the needs to be put the above mentioned systems for each space and plans to lay out the wiring for all systems to be used, whether it is lighting or electronics like sound systems, the retail store or restaurants, installation of HVAC system, video screens at a store, television and stereo system at homes, etc. The fourth important factor is social aspect. The design of the space has a tremendous effect on the occupants of the space. A given space might lift a person's mood by creating a warm, cheerful, happy decor, or make the ambience cold, dull and monotonous for him or her. The occupant is affected by design in the space psychologically and emotionally. Therefore, the occupant may give his preference for the colors, texture, patterns, shape and scale to the designer to be applied on walls, flooring, furnishings, upholstery and other things. Other factors which are considered by the designer are the following. First one is privacy. Everyone needs a private space at some point of time, and other times like to interact with others. Keeping in mind and concept of alone space and interactive space, designer creates space which caters to both needs. For instance, living rooms, dining area, kitchen are planned for entertaining and interacting as compared to the bedrooms, offices, study rooms, which provides privacy to all occupants. The next one of the factor is security and safety. It is vital for the designer to create a space for the occupants which is safe from intruders or terror, pests and wild animals, disasters such as fire by installing in cameras for monitoring, smoke alarms and fire extinguishers, and at the same time secure from natural calamities like that of earthquake, flooding and harsh weather conditions, which also suits needs of the clients like the child-friendly and elderly safe place without posing any harm or discomfort to them. And the third important factor is cultural and family bonding. The space should speak about the personality of the occupants dwelling that space. Listener might go through their traditional and cultural items like art, accessories, their family vacation pictures and photos, memorabilia, significant items, books, furnishings for inspiration, and also display them tastefully in the space, which ties the family space together emotionally and physically by involving memories and shared experiences. The next factor is economic factor. One of the crucial factors for designing a space is the budget allotted by the clients. The budget decides the design of the space along with the scale and time required for construction. Listener carefully allots and divides finances for each sub-project to be completed from the whole design, which gives him a fair idea of where and how the money would be spent. For instance, while designing a restaurant, he might allot certain budget area wise for kitchen, for dining area, waiting and bar area, storage and pantry, as each area is a small project in itself. Or he might calculate the amount of bricks, cement, concrete and supplies, finishes supplied, labor cost of equipment, furniture and furnishings in total of the whole project. Whatever medium the designer and occupant chose for allotment of budget, they try to keep the cost down by using local and regional materials, which reduce transportation costs to bring supplies from faraway place and is also sustainable. Modular standard building components such as doors and windows could be used instead of customizing them, which may increase the cost. The designer also saves the materials such as wood, tiles, stone already used, which might be in good condition, and shine on which the fresh coat of paint, like using old wooden kitchen cabinets by giving them a makeover by addition of new hardware, knobs, handles and modern finishes, which also saves the environment and keeps on budget. However, it is not feasible to reuse worn-out materials and furniture items, as they might sound expensive, as they might wear off due to their poor quality, and the replacement becomes a must. Maintenance and upkeep costs are also vital so that it is convenient and cost and time saving for the occupants who would stay there. Therefore, the designer and the occupant must decide upon items which require minimal maintenance, such as cleaning, polishing and finishing. For instance, the use of silver furniture accessories might be blackened after use, so probably designer could apply rust or corrosion free finish to the furniture, causing less upkeep for the occupant. The sixth one is codes, designs, regulations. City and state laws, regulations and codes also need to be considered by designer before planning. For instance, for designing any home, certain percent areas should be green cover, parking space, fire and other hazard regulations need to be followed. These rules and codes need to be followed while planning any design, as the government and other agencies would only approve the design which is in accordance to the rules, codes and laws. Thus, I conclude that this stage is significant as it forms as a base to the whole design process, since it involves extensive research by the designers to shape the space as required for the client by understanding his or her preferences and needs. The designer gathers necessary information from the clients by questioning them, surveying around and ultimately scrutinizing it for feasibility. The programming stage checks for various conditions and factors for getting a better understanding about the project, which prevents backtracking and waste of time. Thank you.